This video was made possible by my patrons, Joshua Bartlett, James Schubach, Hector Defendi, Douglas Smith, and Capitalism is Good. Thank you so much to all of you. Today's video was selected on the basis of a Twitter poll. Check my Twitter profile every Sunday to vote for Tuesday's video on My 2 Cents. Hello everyone, this is My 2 Cents, and today we're going to be talking about why the Marxist notion of common ownership of the means of production has never, nor will it ever, work. If you're unfamiliar with this notion, which is in fact central to Marxist theory, here's a self-described anarcho-communist, Thought Slime, explaining it.
Here's the definition of socialism I use, so we can be on the same page. Common ownership of the means of production, which is to say that the stuff needed to make the stuff needed to survive, so like factories, tools, and farms and that kind of thing, are owned and controlled by everyone that depends on them, rather than privately owned by whatever ding-dong had the money to buy them.
Just as an aside, Thought Slime definitely picked an appropriate name for himself, given the load of garbage on his channel. Maybe I'll debunk some of his other stuff someday, but for now let's just focus on this notion of common ownership of the means of production. This is in fact the definition of socialism that most Marxists and the other hardcore socialists want to use, and they get very angry when you link them together with your Bernie Sanders types who really just advocate for an expansion of the welfare state. So, people like Thought Slime want everyone to collectively own the means of production. It's not fair for whatever ding-dong had the money to buy them, his terminology, to privately own things like factories and farms and whatever else and receive the profits from them. That's just so selfish. It's exploitation of the workers. It's selfish and wrong for any one person to own anything they've paid for with their own money and then get to decide what happens with the profits. But does common ownership ever work? Here's the one question I ask every socialist who advocates common ownership. What comes to your mind when you hear the words public toilet? Yeah, that's all you should need to know about common ownership. Common ownership never works because it neglects one slightly important detail about private ownership. Sure, being the owner of something is great. It allows you to do whatever you want with what it is you own, but there's a catch. It also means that you bear total and complete responsibility for what you own.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Now, when it comes to your own private toilet, do you keep it clean? If you value your own health, you do. So you either clean it yourself or you pay someone else to do it. However, who cleans the public toilets? It belongs to the public, so it's no individual user's responsibility to keep it sanitary. Sure, some public employee might clean it once a month, but he knows that he's getting paid whether he actually uses the toilet himself or not. So do you think he really cares about how good a job he does? Now, if you own a factory, you are responsible for ensuring that the factory functions properly. If some of the equipment breaks, it needs to be repaired. Who's going to do that? When the trash cans are full, they need to be taken out. Who's going to do that? If an employee is injured because some aspect of the factory itself was inherently unsafe, who is the first person the authorities are going to talk to? Granted, the owner has to hire people to do these things, and he has to delegate his authority as necessary. But at the end of the day, he bears responsibility for the factory. In the same way, he holds his lower-level managers responsible for whatever happens in the specific departments that they manage. The reason for this is because if there isn't an owner, no one bears responsibility when the factory fails and nothing will get done. If you have any doubts about this, think back to when you were in school and you were assigned one of those dreaded group projects. You were paired up with a few other students and then you had to work together to get it done, with all of you sharing the same grade regardless of how much any individual person worked on the project. Now, maybe you got lucky and you got paired with that super smart perfectionist kid who did the whole project himself willingly because he was afraid the others would mess it up. Lucky you. Or maybe you got paired with the lazy kid and immediately knew that you'd either do the whole project yourself or certainly get an F because there was no way he'd do his part no matter what you said. Unlucky you. The point is, when it's everyone's responsibility collectively, either someone takes charge or nothing gets done. Now, fast forward a few years, where you're working in an office of about 40 people. One morning, the boss comes in and announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, the office policy regarding sexual harassment hasn't been updated in 10 years, and in light of all the scandals recently, I feel like it better get updated. I am collectively tasking all 40 of you with updating it. It better be done by 9 a.m. on Monday morning." What a dreaded and tedious task. No one wants to update the policy. All that document ever does is hang on the wall, and no one reads it anyways. However, it certainly doesn't require 40 people to update it. That's a job for a handful of people at the most, and really only one person with a computer can make the actual changes at a given time. Therefore, how are you going to decide who is going to be the unlucky person that actually updates the policy? Anyone who's worked in an office before knows that everyone will just wait until the last minute, hoping that somebody else does the task. Then, with hours to go before it's due, maybe some zealous person who doesn't want to feel the wrath of the boss will step up and do it. However, since it's not ultimately his responsibility, it's doubtful he'll put any thoughtful effort into it. After all, if the boss is unpleased with the result, it's not like he'll be singled out. It was everyone's responsibility. On the other hand, imagine if the boss personally came to your desk and said, "I'm tasking you with updating the office's sexual harassment policy. You're free to get the help of your coworkers if you want, but come Monday at 9 a.m., if there isn't a high-quality product on my desk, I will hold you and you alone responsible." Now, do you think you're going to get that task done and do a good job of it? Of course you will, assuming you value your job. If you're responsible and you bear the consequences, then of course you care about the quality of the product, unlike when it's collectively everyone's responsibility and no individual bears the blame when things don't get done. Common ownership is something that is always doomed to fail. In 1620, the settlers of Jamestown, Virginia, tried using a system of communal ownership until they nearly starved to death. It wasn't until numerous reforms were put into place, including giving each settler his own plot of land and the entitlement to the fruits thereof, that the colony finally began to flourish. So, again, if you advocate communal ownership, just think of what comes to your mind when you hear the words public toilet. That's all you need to know about communal ownership. That is my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Thanks everyone for watching. If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe. You can also hit the bell to ensure you're notified every time I upload a new video. This video was made possible by my patrons, Joshua Bartlett, James Schubach, Hector Defendi, Douglas Smith, and Capitalism is Good. Thank you so much to all of you. If anyone else would like to donate and help ensure that I have the time and resources to keep putting out content, for just $1 a month on Patreon, you'll receive a shout out at the beginning and the end of every video, and one of your social media links in the description. You can also follow me on Twitter, Minds.com, BitChute, WordPress, Gab, and iTunes. Uploads are every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so stay tuned for more videos.